Farhan needs some things to be done differently. He needs to do some things differently. There's I don't think that's
all right. You haven't lost me yet.
Not a question.
So far,
anymore.
so good.
Sometimes.
Oh God, here we go. I'm angry, Jeff. That's awesome.
Sometimes those stupid little transactions where you're like, you just did what for who?
Right.
Wait a minute. You just signed that guy 13 hours ago, and now you're DFAing him, and you traded him for Bob Jablonski from somebody's single A affiliate. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You know, that's how they got Brett Wisley. He's not homegrown.
Who is?
People think he's homegrown. Brett Wisley was drafted by the Tampa Bay Rays. Brett Wisley was acquired by the Giants less than 2 years ago in exchange for minor league outfielder Tristan Peters, who they had just acquired a couple of months earlier.
Of course.
Stupid transaction. Those things come across and people are like, you're just annoying us. Like, you acquired who for who, and you just acquired the who that you gave up like 6 minutes ago. What game are you playing? This isn't Words with Friends. Don't get on your iPad with another GM and just start farting around with people's names. What are you doing? Well,
totally.
Might have found a middle infielder.
Might have. Yeah. Give him a couple more good weeks, and then he'll be traded to Seattle for somebody we've never heard of, most likely.
For sure. But, I mean, Bob Melvin was asked, hey, what about Wisley at shortstop when Nick Ahmed returns?
Hey, he's got to get back here first. All I know is that Brett has done a great job, and he's gotten really good at-bats against lefties as well. I mean, he was in the lineup today and, had really good at-bats across the board. And you look at some of his numbers in the past, he's hit lefties pretty well. He's playing the position like he belongs there and has played it. I think that's the most impressive thing right now is how well he's playing shortstop for me.
Brett Wisley, so far this year, let's take a look at what we're looking at right now. Brett Wisley is hitting .317 with an OPS of 800.
Yeah, keep that up and you'll be off to Sacramento, young man. Because that's what happens.
It's only 60 at-bats. But I guess this would be my argument right now with the experience Giants fans have been taken through with the shortstop position so far this year. From Ahmed to Schmidt/Luciano and now Wisley. Dude, you could lop 100 points off that OPS and I'd still be fine with you if A, you could hit pitchers who throw from both sides, and B, you pick up the ball when somebody hits it to you.
Pick it up and throw it?
Pick the ball up.
Gotcha.
Throw it to the person you're trying to throw it to and throw it to them accurately so that they can catch it. I ain't asking for a whole lot over here.
That's not asking for much, actually.
Somebody hits you the ball, pick it up. Throw it somewhere. Have that person catch it.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for out of a shortstop. And if he's going to do that, we got an interesting player right now.
Right. You got a chance to stick around, and, the OPS of 768 is good and solid. And again, you mentioned the small sample, 56 at-bats. Well, that was before today, I think, right?
Yeah, it's up to 800.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 for 4 today.
Yeah, there you go.
60 at-bats, 19 hits, Dibs,
Yeah.
317 average and an 800 OPS.
Big time. Time for an extension, although he's probably pre-ARB 3, so they've got him under team control as long as they possibly want him.
Strikes out less than a quarter of the time. How often do you say that about a big leaguer now?
Well, not these big leaguers like Jorge Soler, who strikes out literally more than a quarter of the time. All he does is strike out, seemingly.
Quite literally. I love to do this whenever you bring that up, the whole ARB system in baseball.
Right.
You ever look at a player's contractual situation when they just get called up? Go over to Spot Track and look at their situation.
It's depressing.
It's the stupidest system ever. I don't know why it's legal. I don't know how this is allowed. Brett Wisley is making, and this is fine, I'm not triggered by his salary. I know in the whole grand scheme of life, this is a very good salary that he makes. $560,898. What?
Pretty good.
$890. What is that?
Keep in mind for Wisley, it's a proration sensation.
Yes, it is.
So he's not getting that full boat.
No, but
it's
I mean,
prorated based on his time in the bigs.
which means Brock Purdy's looking at him going, that's all you make?
Seriously.
Good Lord,
Poor little
dude.
guy.
Come on. Get it together. But next year, Brett Wisley, pre-ARB.
Yeah.
And the year after that, pre-ARB.
Yes, and the year after that, still pre-ARB.
He's not even ARB. And once you go into ARB, then you got a bunch more years where you're stuck in that vortex.
ARB.
This young man makes the bigs at age 25. He can be in his 30s before he can do something about this.
Exactly.
Financially.
And
it's wild.
You can talk to Yaz about how that feels.
Oh, God.
Who Yaz this year is making $7.9 million, finally. And then next year he's ARB. And then he gets to be a free agent. And he'll be 35. There you go, Yaz. All the best.
Especially when, and I have no idea, I could look up signing bonuses and stuff like this. But
Right.
Brett Wisley was a 15th round draft pick. So no one gave him $3 million to like sign and go to the minor leagues. You know, Patrick Bailey is probably ARB, but Patrick Bailey was number 13 overall pick. Probably got a real nice check to sign with the San Francisco Giants. Kyle Harrison got a real nice check to sign with the San Francisco Giants. Before you ARB.
Right.
I don't know why it's legal. I don't know why it's legal. It's crazy. Weird system.
Right. Especially with the baseball players union being as strong as it is, you figure they would be a little bit more strong about making this arbitration system a little bit shorter. And I get it. You get team control and all the rest of it. But the fact that you get 3 years of pre-ARB and then 3 years of ARB, that the length of it seems to be
wild.
Dramatically unfair, you know?
I mean, no wonder they don't want to call anybody up when they're 20 or 21. They want to wait till you're 25, and they can hold you until basically they're like, yeah, you're kind of on the downturn of your career now.
And Wisley started in 2019 playing for Princeton in rookie ball, part of the Tampa Bay structure, and then there was no 2020. And sorry, guys, COVID, you all don't get a year of service time because we just didn't have minor league baseball. So for guys like Wisley, heck, for all these guys, you missed out on a year, which cost you a year of possibly getting out of the ARB system.
I'm looking at his career earnings, and you're right. Yeah, I do actually see his signing bonus. His signing bonus,
$50,000.
No, it's more than that. It's more than that.
$52,000.
No, it's more than that.
Did he get 6 dig?
He did.
6 figs?
He got $125,000.
All right, Brett.
Yeah. So after taxes, you're right. He brought home $52,000.
Good point.
And yeah, he hasn't even made it. Even when you add in the signing bonus, he's yet to make $1 million in his career.
Yeah.
Not that I feel terrible for him. He's 25 years old.
Exactly.
He's doing fine. But anyway, Chris in San Jose here with Willard and Dibs. Hey, Chris, what's cooking? What's shaking?
What's going on, gentlemen? Happy Wednesday. Yeah, like you said, not the best day in the week, but at least we're in the back half now, right? So
We're there.
Yeah, I'm kind of, before all the pessimistic Giants fans call in, I wanted to call in maybe with a little bit more of an optimistic take and maybe a different perspective. When you talk about the national team, you got 15 teams in the National League. You realize 10 of them are under 500?
We do.
Do you realize that the Giants are in 6th or 7th in the National League in terms of runs scored on the road and average half a run less at their home ballpark, which is statistically the bottom 3 ballparks to hit in? So that skews it a little bit. We're talking about a 6-month season. We are 2.5 months in. We've missed a lot of time from Conforto, a couple of weeks from Soler here and there. We've missed time from Wade. We've missed time from multiple pitchers, and we're sitting at 34 and 35. So I don't know how you can't be optimistic with 3.5 months left in the season. You've only had 1 month of Ramos. So let's just say he keeps that up. You're talking about a 3,100 guy who's hitting close to 300. And I know the Farhan haters will say, well, Farhan didn't draft him. Farhan didn't sign him. Are fans really that naive to think that every successful World Series winning team that had a GM change at some time didn't have players from the previous regime? Are we saying that Farhan doesn't get credit for Brett Wisley if he keeps this up because we didn't draft him? Are we saying that Farhan doesn't get any credit when he was the one that hired Donnie Ecker back in 2021, and all of a sudden all of the guys Sabian drafted their best offensive careers or years by a mile? Is that really what we're saying? I know he's a goober, and he's an easy guy to point your finger at him. I think that guy's going to my team. I don't like that guy. And not be optimistic, I think that is a very reactionary take from a lot of, frankly, baseball fans who must not watch other teams.
Well, Chris, that's a super interesting call, actually. And you got the word goober in there, which is nice. Just, that's always funny. Thank you very much, Chris. Look, here's what I would say if we really want to get a little bit deeper in this. This is what I would argue to people. If you've got a problem with Farhan, I completely get it. I'd argue that most of you have the wrong problem with Farhan. I've got issues with Farhan Zaidi. They're just not mostly about player acquisition. I think that it's hard for fans, though, who may not really, really want to, study or go, because who wants to do that? You just want to go get a dog and a beer and watch the game. It's totally, totally fair. But what happens is, and you see this in our political structure, you see this at your work, you might even see this in your own home. What happens is you make a decision about a person or a thing, and then afterward, you compile all of your evidence to show why you do or don't like a person. So you back someone even though they make mistakes if you like them. And then if you don't like someone, you only highlight all the bad and not the good. We could sit here with Farhan. I could take you to the end of the segment right now and give you acquisitions that he nailed. Now, I could give you a few that he didn't, for sure.
We could go tit for tat, because I'm looking right now at MLB.com, and I just clicked on transactions, because when you were talking about Farhan and Brett Wisley and all the moves, the micro moves he's made, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to look at these transactions.
Take a look.
And I don't even want to go through the whole list.
Of course, that'd be boring.
I'm looking at May, and on May 31st, there were 7 moves that were made.
Just the Giants?
Yes.
Okay. What they do?
Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Conforto, rehab assignment.
Okay.
Luciano on the 10-day IL, retroactive. Casey Schmidt, recalled. Pomerantz, outright. McKenna, outright. Jackson Reitz, outright. That's just one day.
Right.
So, I mean, the constant shuffling. They signed on the 29th a free agent named Alaric Soler to a minor league contract. So if Alaric Soler in 3 years comes up and does something, Farhan's a genius. But if not, no one's going to ever remember that they signed free agent outfielder Alan Serta to a minor league contract.
But there's plenty of stuff that happened at a much higher level that you could take issue with, from DeSclafani to Tommy La Stella.
Sure.
We can do that all day. But we can also, Brett Wisley. How about the battery the other night? Anybody enjoy Kyle Harrison and Patrick Bailey? These are drafted players by Farhan Zaidi. That's my point. My point is, I think you could take any GM in sports and go, there's a list of crappy acquisitions, and then over here is a list of good ones, unless the guy is really bad. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna hit some, you're gonna miss some. That's life, that's sports.
Right.
My issue with Farhan Zaidi is not about player acquisition. It's about ego. That's my issue with Farhan Zaidi, is that the inner workings of the San Francisco Giants through the last 5 years have often been run in a way where he's trying to prove something to everybody instead of just doing a good job. That's the problem. The problems with the age of analytics, I feel like, is people who really buy into it. Gabe Kapler was the exact same way. People who really buy into it are going to subscribe to it at such a level that it constantly feels like they're trying to tell you that they're right. And if something doesn't work, they go, well, it just didn't work this time, but trust us, over a long haul, absolutely. And then the 107 wins happens, and now they're super activated. And it was almost like there are things happening behind the scenes where they wanted to strip the history of the Giants down. The pictures of the players coming off of the wall from the Bonds and Buster Posey eras, because they really wanted to, quote unquote, build their own brand. of Giants baseball. I think that's been damaging. That's my issue with Farhan Zaidi and his hands at times being on too many baseball things. There are signings behind the scenes that I think the baseball people didn't like. There are lineup decisions behind the scenes that the baseball people don't like. I'd like a little bit more of a give and take there. I think you're starting to get it. Bob Melvin's got more cachet than Gabe Kapler. That would be, and I know a lot of people don't see that, and I'm not asking anybody to see that. But that's the issue that I've got. To me, that's a way bigger thing for the morale of Giants baseball and where things have been over the last 3 years than firing on the clearly disproven idea of being cheap and, oh, this acquisition, that acquisition. Blake Snell, you idiot, it didn't work. You all loved it when Blake Snell got signed. I did. I still don't want him unsigned. I'm still sitting here today going, maybe he's going to be Blake Snell in the second half of the year. And I don't care about $31 million. It's not mine.
It's not my money either.
I don't care.
But if Blake Snell doesn't pitch well, you can rightly rip him for that not working out.
Not if he doesn't pitch well. I'm not going to rip him for the guy getting hurt.
Well, I'm not.
Guys get hurt.
Yeah, guys get hurt, and guys have these types of injuries when they don't have proper training camps and the exhibition season. So
that's kind of on Blake.
It's all on part of it. Well,
the least
you
partially.
signed him for sure. Yeah, for sure. You signed him that late, and then you did what you did with him, and his race is not yet run. So I'm going to withhold judgment until we get to the end of the year. But yeah, if you take a swing and you bring in Jorge Soler and he can't get hits with runners on base, that's a you problem.
That's on you, no doubt. I agree.
That's a Farhan problem because it's also on the player because it's the player's job to come in and actually do what you were brought in to do. But when you don't do that, who brought the guy in? It's Farhan. And
Absolutely.
Again, it's not. But we're not even close to the end of the year where you're going to make these judgments.
Right. You go back and forth on this, though. Lamont Wade was a brilliant trade.
Yeah.
My God, he got him for nothing. You know what I mean? Do you like that? The Soler thing, it's a totally fair point. How do you feel right now on this day, in this moment, about the Matt Chapman signing?
Yeah.
Like it or no?
Well, I like it today.
Okay.
I mean, it's been fine.
Today.
It's been fine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been very inconsistent. He's been hot and he's been cold. And, you mentioned the battery of Bailey and Harrison, 2 draft picks, and that's looked very, very good. So you can go back and forth and we can tit for tat on all the wins and the losses. Ultimately, it comes down to the wins and the losses. And if they wind up the year at 80 and 82, and if attendance is up and they're, again, mediocre and you're 80 and 82 and you know what, that's good enough for a third wild card and you end your playoff drought and you're a playoff team, well, then you're going to have a hard choice to make.
I buy all that. I'd be very surprised if the records that you see now battling for the third wild card are what they are going to be at the end.
I would bet that
80 wins ain't going to do it.
82 probably will.
I disagree with you.
Yeah, I don't think you'll need 85. I don't think that for the third wild card, I think you're going to be looking at, it's kind of like the Eastern Conference this year in the NBA for the play-in game. You're not going to have to be very good to get that third wild card.
You don't have to be very good, but I do think
be very mediocre.
I think you're going to have to be good. Again, all it takes is 2 teams stepping forward. Let's say, you've got the Braves and the Phillies both in the East. So let's just argue that one of those is going to be the top wild card team. That's where it sits right now. Even though the Braves are only 3.5 games ahead of the Giants, it's not like they've got a sparkling record either. But let's argue the Braves and Phillies are both playoff teams. That leaves 2 wild card spots. That means all it takes is 3 teams out of this whole jumbled mess. 3 teams need to step forward and have a really good second half to where it needs to push you to where you are going to have to be 85 wins or north in order to get in. You've got the Padres, the Giants, the Diamondbacks. Could they get it figured out? Went to the World Series last year. I think the Chicago Cubs are a team to watch. There are certain teams here that I don't think are very sustainable. The Nationals, the Cardinals, the Mets, these teams, I just don't think they're all that good. They could surprise us. The Pirates, they're young, they're plucky. Could they get something going? Sure. But all it takes is 3 teams to really step forward, and I would predict that will happen. I think you're going to have to be a solid team to get in.
Yeah, I don't think so. I look at the Braves, who are going to be the top wild card, and then the rest of it's going to be anyone between 85 and 80 wins. There'll probably be 5 or 6 teams in that mix. And I agree with you about some of those also-rans like Washington and New York. I think they fall off. I don't believe in St. Louis. And then you get Cincinnati, Chicago. I don't buy Pittsburgh. So for me, it's Arizona and the Giants and the Cubs. 3 teams maybe fighting for one spot.
Padres, if you add them in, fighting
I would
for 2.
put the Padres ahead of that group anyway.
Okay.
But 4 teams for 2, and I don't think that you're going to have to be that much of a dominant club to get that third wild card.
Not dominant, but good. You're gonna have to win more than you lose. You're gonna have to get it.
But I think 85 gets it done.
Maybe
comfortably.
Maybe, but
82 might actually be enough.
That would surprise me. 82 and 80.
I just look at all these teams, and I look at flawed teams from not top to bottom, but from the Padres all the way down to the Mets right now, who are technically only 4 back of the Giants for that third wild card.
Yeah.
And
the Mets are a fire, man. They're
and we're going to see how many of these teams look to sell because we've got 6 weeks until the deadline.
That's a good point. Yeah, we're presented by